On the outskirts of a small town, there stood an old abandoned house. It was rumored to be haunted, and locals avoided it at all costs. But one day, a group of teenagers decided to explore the house. They had heard the stories, but they didn't believe them. The teenagers broke into the house and began to explore. It was dark and dusty inside, and the air was thick with the smell of mold. They wandered through the empty rooms, laughing and joking. But as they went deeper into the house, the atmosphere became more oppressive. They came to a room at the end of a long hallway. The door was closed, but they could hear strange noises coming from inside. They hesitated for a moment, but their curiosity got the better of them. They slowly opened the door and peered inside. The room was empty, except for a single chair in the center. The chair was rocking back and forth on its own, as if someone were sitting in it. The teenagers gasped in horror. They quickly backed out of the room and slammed the door shut. They ran through the house, their hearts pounding in their chests. They didn't stop running until they were outside and back on the street. They never looked back. There once was a young woman named Sarah who was obsessed with her appearance. She spent hours every day looking at herself in the mirror. One day, she bought a new mirror from a mysterious antique dealer. He warned her that the mirror was cursed, but Sarah didn't believe him. Sarah took the mirror home and hung it in her bedroom. She immediately fell in love with it. The mirror showed her as the most beautiful woman in the world. She couldn't help but stare at herself in it for hours on end. But one day, Sarah noticed something strange. The mirror seemed to be changing her. Her skin became paler, and her eyes became darker. She started to look gaunt and unhealthy. But she didn't care. She was still obsessed with her appearance. One night, Sarah woke up in the middle of the night. She looked in the mirror and saw that she had transformed into a hideous creature. Her skin was wrinkled and gray, and her eyes were sunken and hollow. She screamed in terror, but the creature in the mirror smiled back at her. Sarah tried to smash the mirror, but it was unbreakable. She was trapped inside the mirror world, forced to look at her monstrous reflection for all eternity. In a tall office building in a major city, there was an old elevator that was rumored to be haunted. People said that if you got on the elevator alone and pressed the top floor button, you would end up in a strange and terrifying place. One day, a young man named David decided to test the rumor. He got on the elevator alone and pressed the top floor button. The elevator began to ascend, but it never stopped at the top floor. Instead, it went all the way to the basement. The basement was dark and deserted. David could hear strange noises coming from all around him. He started to walk down a hallway, but he quickly got lost. He wandered through the basement for hours, but he couldn't find his way out. Finally, David came to a large room. In the center of the room was a pool of dark water. David approached the pool and saw his reflection in the water. But it wasn't his own reflection. It was the reflection of a hideous creature with glowing red eyes. The creature reached out his hand to David. David screamed and ran away, but the creature chased after him. David ran through the basement, but he couldn't escape the creature. Finally, David reached the elevator and pressed the button for the ground floor. The elevator door opened, and David stepped inside. He took a deep breath and tried to forget what he had seen. But when the elevator door opened on the ground floor, David saw that he was no longer in his own office building. He was in a strange and desolate place. The sky was black, and the air was thick with fog. David realized that he had been trapped in the haunted elevator. He was now trapped in a world of darkness and terror, and there was no escape. I hope you like these stories. Please like and subscribe button for more.